Hello, hello, hello. I'm Joel Hall here, and I have some thoughts on Ashtanga Asana, adding more poses and adding new series. Advancing in Ashtanga yoga isn't about adding new postures. I know you've heard it before, but listen, it's true. There really is just a system of yoga for personal insight. And if that's the case, then the reason we get new postures is so that we can apply the things we learned about the ones that came before them in new and interesting and complex ways. This means, I guess, that at some point when we move to the next series, like the intermediate series, it's kind of the same. We move along to it so that we can begin to grow in our depth. If the primary series is yoga therapy, therapy for the physical body, then the nervous system cleansing promised by Nadi Shodhana, the intermediate series, might be good to tackle also. When incorporating poses from your next series, the key is understanding why you're doing them. You got to introduce the postures in a way that makes sense for the learning. And in order to do that, you have to know what the posture offers you. This means that you have to be able to break them down piece by piece. When you can do that, you can put them back together again. Doing so requires that you maintain energetic balance because, boy, so many of these are stimulating. Intermediate series postures are going to be stimulating, but they should also be enhancing your practice, not becoming disruptive to your personal life. There needs to be a grounding effect from primary series when you go into intermediate series. Um, you're not going to just go crazy. Instead, you're going to observe your breath and your nervous system, and as soon as you feel like you're ready to take on something else, you're going to, because new postures should provide a challenge, not overwhelm. And let's get real. At some point, you're going to have to cut off what you're doing so that you can make time for something new. And Ashtanga, there were different splits given along the way. As I've come to understand it, Rolf thought my split was way too early. And, I hear tell that any split at all for some is way too early. But I think it's a great idea, something like introducing a half primary and a half intermediate, because they both provide useful things beyond, the rigid order. And these physical and energetic qualities can be really valuable to students who show signs of readiness, like feeling really effortless and integrated in your most valuable, most viable postures in primary series, not just like feeling like primary is completed. There's also the notion that your breath can remain steady through the back bending at the end of primary series in whatever version it is that you do. But your ability to manage your energy there is going to be really necessary for what comes next. After that, you've got to make sure that you know how to recover. If you come in depleted day after day after day, there's like no reason to throw on something new. You got to figure out how to work with what you already got. You get energetically, the jump from primary to intermediate is going to be more significant to different populations, and that's just the way it is. I would say that primary series focuses on so much of the external rotation and flexion in the body, while the intermediate series focuses so much on the internal rotation and extension of the spine with axial rotation and lateral flexion built in more and more. You do too much of that too soon, and you're going to overstimulate the nervous system. It's too much if you haven't created a map in your mind of what your body can do. And it's going to create agitation instead of a nourishing transformation. You'll notice that I didn't say any postures have to be like completed or perfect. That's not the way this works. Advancement in the series isn't a brass ring to be given, just simply a natural evolution of understanding what came before it so that you can work with what comes next. Advancement isn't about getting a new series, it's about being ready for it. The best transition is going to be the one that honors both where you've been and where you're going without rushing past where the practice is still teaching you, whether you're transitioning